Frame Aviation.
The airplane was rebuilt somewhere down in the States by a father-son pair.
Okay.
And then it was imported into Canada not too long after that happened by a fellow.
I'll let you guys go.
2015, 2014, somewhere in there. And it was imported into Canada by a fellow by the name of Jim Rymick. And he was running a flying school over in Bassano.
Okay.
Well, anyway, Bill was wanting to get back into flying. He had a previous pilot's license, but he had to get reacquainted. But anyway, during the course of that, one of Jim's students wrecked the airplane. Now, not badly, but cleaned the gear off it. Had a
Right, prop strike,
Yeah.
tipped over,
Yeah.
didn't hit the engine, but tipped over on the right, took the sheared gear off.
So anyway, it was being rebuilt. In the meantime, Jim needed an airplane, so he went and found another one and bought it. And then this airplane kind of became surplus. So Bill bought it from Jim.
Okay.
And they found out it was kind of a godsend in a way. When they went to do the welding on the fuselage tubing where it was damaged, where the gear attached, they found corrosion. So they stripped the fuselage back to the back seat and sent it up to Acorn Welding in Edmonton to have them
What was
all-
corroded on it? The skin or the
tubing.
Oh, the tubing.
Tubing, yeah. Yeah, this is like it's all tubing over fabric over tubing.
Fabric over tubing, yeah.
And it was corroded. Some of the lower longerons were corroded where the gear attached.
Okay.
So it went up to Edmonton to Acorn Welding, which is also a good deal. Acorn, I find them kind of pricey, but they have a jig the whole bit.
Okay.
So it was jigged and all three.
I heard they're some of the best. They're the
Yeah,
best.
they are. They are. The only thing is, they kind of bug me. There's a guy out there. We're the best. Just ask me.
Yeah,
You know, one of those guys?
but I've actually heard from other people, Acorn, my other pilot friends, that it's done at Acorn. That's a good sign. So
But it
carry
is
on.
done, yeah. So then anyway, and then Gary Hillman,
Yeah.
Hillman Air in Red Deer, he is, his specialty is, he's actually a representative for Consolidated Aircraft Coatings. They own Stitz, they own Seekonite, they own Randolph, all the fabric people, all the fabric stuff. Well, he's their representative. So they had Gary do the fabric work.
Oh.
Okay. Anyway, the wings were not damaged when
Okay.
all this went on. And the good news is when the airplane was rebuilt, it got brand new spars. They're still wooden spars, but they're brand new.
Brand new wooden spar.
Yes.
Spars, plural. There's a multiple.
Front and rear.
Yeah, there's four spars.
Four spars,
Two per
okay.
wing, yeah. Now the the AD is mainly on the front spar.
Yeah.
And what the problem with the Citabria is, Scouts, same thing, any of the champs, if they ever got ground looped and stood on a wingtip, they would put a compression load on the spar, which would create a compression crack on the top side of the spar, which was very hard to detect. And then what would happen is after this compression crack, it would grow, and especially if it was usually just outboard of the wing strut attachment, and there's a couple of plywood doublers there where the wing strut attaches. The crack would grow underneath that,
Underneath the doubler.
and then one day the wing would fold up.
Yeah.
So that's where the AD came from.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's all. Now, the other interesting thing is a friend of mine that used to own this place, he actually developed a repair. He developed a spar cap,
A spar
a
cap.
wooden spar cap that went on, but transport wouldn't never let him not do the AD. He also developed a doubler system on the spars. But anyway, in the meantime, American Champion came into being. They took over from Bellanca, and they developed a metal spar.
Right.
Yeah,
Can I ask that? Is this spar is laminated? Is it laminated? It's a
No,
laminated
it's
spar.
well, the original spars were one solid piece of good old Sitka spruce.
Spruce. Okay.
No
it's
knots. No knots.
Really.
But the one problem that they had, which nobody likes to talk about, of course, when they're buying the lots of wood,
yeah.
a lot of Citabrias came out with a splice in one spar because they're trying to. The wood was so expensive.
Yeah.
Now it was usually a rear spar, and it was a legitimate splice.
Yep.
But if they ever had this ground loop problem, the problem always developed at the splice.
Yeah.
You see, that was the other problem. So when this one got new spars, there's no splices in any of these spars.
Okay.
But the one thing that's really odd, and this is some deal, it's kind of like Jerry's spar cap that he built. When I first looked at this airplane, see, I got involved. This is a long story, but Jim and Bill had a falling out. Jim was supposed to be helping him rebuild it,
Okay.
and Jim's not even an AME. But he was helping him, and he was using it. So Bill contacted me. Why me? I'm not sure. And I ended up finishing the airplane over in Pisano. And the first time I looked at the airplane, there's a line longitudinally along the spar. Now, what the hell is that? And it is, it's a new style spar, the wooden one's an aftermarket one.
Yeah.
It is laminated. It's
Okay.
got a spar cap, yeah. But it's just the bottom half, the bottom 2/3 is solid wood, and then the top third or quarter. It's been a while since I've looked in those wings, so I can't remember exactly where this line was. But I went through the whole thing, and it was very well done, the guys that rebuilt it. And all the spar varnish on it is good, and so on and so forth. So, and Bill did a bunch of other things too. Well, he had it apart. He put a metal belly on it, which is kind of a good and a bad thing. The metal belly's nice, but it adds weight.
Oh.
And of course, so the airplane, it's just got the 235 in it, so the payload is not great.
Metal
It's not
belly versus
fabric.
fabric belly.
So you can take the belly off, the entire belly, and work in the belly, like look at the tubing.
Instead of going through the floorboards if you don't want.
Yeah, you had to go through floorboards, or you had little inspection holes. That's all you had
Yeah.
to check out the belly. And of course, then the wood would get wet and it would rot and so on. And so it's a conversion kit. You can put this metal belly. It's in sections.
What's it weight? What is the metal belly?
I think it added 10 pounds to the airplane.
Oh,
or something.
okay. Is that I
10 or
guess
14 pounds.
Whatever weight is weight. I get it. Okay, it's
Yeah.
only 10 or 14
Well,
pounds.
because it's a 235.
Yeah.
I mean, it actually has a good payload compared to a Citabria.
Yeah.
Like the Citabria out here has a horrible payload.
Yeah.
We're trying to make it as light as possible. The one that we're rebuilding
Yeah,
out
yeah.
there. Because what they did is they took the 7ECA, put flaps on it,
Oh,
put a bigger engine in it, and put heavier landing gear under it, but never changed the payload much, or never changed
Yeah,
the gross
yeah,
weight
yeah,
much,
yeah,
you
okay,
see.
okay.
So
Just adding on more and more weight.
yeah. So then pretty soon the empty weight was way up there.
Right,
So
right.
the payload was the shits.
Yeah.
okay.
But anyway, the 7ECA is better, but the problem with the 7ECA, it only has 112 or 108 or 112 horsepower engine,
Yeah.
whereas the Citabria had 150 horsepower engine, so it was...
Ah.
And then, of course, they came out with the one sitting outside, that's a Scout. It's got 180
Oh,
horse
that
engine.
is a Scout outside. Okay, good.
They added 3 feet to each wing, no, a foot and a half to each wing, and bumped the gross weight way up,
Okay.
and put 180 horse. And that one, he's got a constant speed prop on it as well.
Right.
And now American Champion, they're making the new, they call it the Denali.
Yeah.
Well, they went to a whole bunch of carbon fiber to make the airplane lighter, and then put a 200 horse engine in it. It's a hot rod.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And is it constant speed prop as well?
Yeah. And well, that's the only problem with this airplane, again, this Scout out here, it's got a 3-blade Hartzell on it, which adds quite a bit of weight.
Yeah.
The new Denali has a 3-blade MT composite blades,
Okay.
and it's way lighter. And then they put like things, instead of plywood floorboards, they put in carbon fiber floorboards.
Right.
And they really lightened the airplane up.
And that one that you're looking at it's got what prop is on it?
Bills.
No, it's a metal prop, but
it is
fixed
a-
pitch.
Okay, fixed pitch.
Fixed pitch metal prop on
Yeah.
GES kit.
So did you want to? These are the logbooks. If you want to have a look at them at all.
Rob would
Like-
be, yeah. Well, he's my interpreter. So
I'll just give you a bit of a rundown. Prop. When the accident happened, it got a new propeller.
It did, eh? Good.
okay.
Yeah, so it was 166 hours on a brand new propeller.
And what's the lifetime on one of those? Before overhaul or?
Every 5 years, which it just had,
Okay.
you have to pull it off, do an dimension check to it, and then check it for cracks. And then when it gets to 1,000 hours, I can't remember. Macaulay and Sensenich are different. One of them has 1,000-hour overhaul, but this one's a Macaulay, and I don't know if the Macaulay. I think it might have a higher TBO, but it can still be overhauled as long as it doesn't have bad nicks in it.
Yeah.
You got lots of meat. Hey?
Yeah.
And being a tail dragger, this thing doesn't have a nick in it yet.
Good.
It's like brand new.
Can I ask, while we're doing that, I just want to forget to ask the hours on the magnetos.
Okay. Well, we'll get to the.
That's-
We'll go
yeah,
to
we
the
can get
engine.
to we can get as long as we get to that.
Anyway, I was just going to say, just so you know what you're getting into, a new prop, new exhaust system, The engine, now, I wasn't really pleased with the engine. Jim found a used and part-time engine in the States,
Yeah.
but it spent a lot of time sitting. But it passes compression test, and like I guess Bill told you the story.
4 or 6 of them? 4.
4. Bill sold it to this young guy out in Kamloops
Yeah.
in 2018,
Yeah.
something like that. He only flew it like 80 hours. He flew it a lot the first year, less the next year, less.
Yeah, of course.
Well, then of course he got married, started having kids.
Oh, geez.
And got parked. So then Bill bought it back from him.
Yeah.
Okay, and but when it was out there, he did quite a bit of work to it. One thing they did is they put a complete gasket kit in the engine.
Okay.
So it's got all new gaskets, like, because I had snagged, there was a few leaks like push rod tube seals, rocket
Push rod
cover
tubes,
gaskets,
cylinder.
classic stuff, and cylinder base seals. And as I say, it passes compression test. Oil consumption is acceptable. It has a good static RPM, so I can't really fault it. I guess. And compressions this year, and it sat outside. We were waiting for the weather to square up. We put it inside overnight, warmed it up, and Charles just basically did a run up on it, and 2 compressions were at 70, but the other 2 were I think one was at 74 and one was at 78. But that's not uncommon, because the airplane hasn't been flying a whole bunch.
Okay.
I'm not too concerned about it.
What were the 70 and what?
There's 270, 174. Oh, sorry, 172, 177, and 2 at 70.
Okay.
Number 3 and number 4. And you see, last year, number 1 was 72, same thing as it was this year. Number 2 is 78, it was 77 this year. And 3 was 70, and 4 was 77. Well, you see, so 3 is the same as last year, and 4 was better. But as I say, it depends if they've sat.
Yeah.
Like if you go out and work it real hard for a couple hours and bring it back in, all the compressions will be up, right?
Yeah.
So anyway, it's got fairly new plugs in it. Bill put on a remote Airwolf oil filter system mounted on the firewall, which is a good deal. So all of that was, and I got a new engine mount because of the wreck. So he did spend quite a bit of money on it. Also, the owner, when he had it out there in BC, he put a 406 ELT in it. And he threw away the old transponder and encoder and put in a new.
What's the new? It's a new Garmin ES300. Do you know what kind of?
It's still just a standard transponder. Like there's no ADS-B or there's no.
Okay, and it's not upgradable. This is what I know that.
I don't think so, but I don't know that for sure.
That's fine. I think it's the ES. It is upgradable, but whatever. No big deal.
But we're fortunately, that sounds like Nav Canada has backed off a little bit on the ADS-B.
Okay.
But now one thing I'll give you a heads up, we can't do the 2-year transponder encoder altimeter test here.
Okay.
And so what we do is we placard it. You're restricted from Class C airspace until such time as it's done.
Okay.
It has to be done every 2 years.
It
expired back in July.
Okay.
But you can take it to, if you guys are going to keep it up at Rick's place, I would recommend you take it up to Bob Marriott at QF Avionics in Red Deer and let him do it. He's a good guy.
So my buddy Rick, who flew it back from Kamloops, said, is there an issue with the starter, intermittent starter?
Don't know. We've never.
Maybe not.
Bill never said anything to us, and we didn't. It started fine.
And that's fine. But Rick just said he noticed something. I mean, it's not a major thing, but I just didn't know if.
Now that reminds me, it either has a lightweight starter or a lightweight alternator. I don't think it has both. It has one or the other. We put on for Bill.
Okay.
So that was done, and the only thing I can say is I haven't really been doing anything with it since it went to Kamloops.
Of course, that's fair enough.
But like I said, we got looking at the books, and you only flew it 80 hours.
Yeah.
And so the engine has 1,100 hours on it, and this is the only other thing I can't tell you, is if the cylinders were done at any time in the past, which I don't think they were, they went to a heavier piston or different exhaust valve or something, which bumped the TBO to 2,400 hours. But this is probably just a 2,000 hour engine.
Oh.
But as long as it's working fine, private you run them on condition.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can run them. Like Charles, the fellow out there that works for me, he had a 172 that he sold to a flying school in Wetaskiwin a while back. It had 3,500 hours on the engine.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
So,
Mags.
oh, yes,
Magneto's hours on mags.
okay, mags. I can tell you, they're 500 hour. Like, yeah, there's a heavy check every 500 hours.
Okay.
And the mags are due for their 500 hour at 1,316. So the mags are due for a 500 hour inspection. The mags were rebuilt at 816 hours on the engine.
Okay.
So that means that at 1,316 hours, their first 500 hour inspection is due. And right now it's got 1,100 hours on it, so they're due in 200 hours, the 500 hour.
Okay, here we are by ourselves here with the Citabria, and just gonna take a look at a few things here. Yeah. That's nice. We had a really good chat with Murray Frame, the guy who has a history with this airplane, working on it. And he really went through in detail, and he's showing us all the logs. So, heard great things about it. We're just gonna take our own close-up look at everything. Yeah, fabric. Yeah, this is nice. We'll take a close-up look at this airplane here. Before the shot. Hey?
It's like looking at a go-kart again.
Yeah, right? Sewing machine engine, sort of like the Yaris of airplanes.
Yeah.
And
seals on push rod tubes.
okay.
This cylinder here looks like it's not much, but you see a little wetness around the base of the cylinder.
Yeah.
But he says it's been all resealed. This one's nice and dry.
Okay.
A little bit moisture, but nothing.
And when we went through, it's got as he said, the new prop, metal fixed pitch Macaulay prop. It had a new windscreen, new tires and brakes, and all the bearings and everything are redone. New gear, I think he said new gear legs, because they're sold in a set. So there's no reason why they wouldn't have the new.
This is the mag right here.
That's the mag, and again, just
like a distributor, more or less.
Right, but and we wrote it down, but it was like 200 hours left on the mags before
the 500 hour inspection.
Before the 500 hour inspection.
It had its 500 hour overhaul 300 hours ago.
Had its 500 hour overhaul 300 hours ago. Okay, so great. There's other good things, a lot of good things about this airplane, as Murray explained to us. And yeah. Oh yeah, I remember what he said also about the he talked about the metal underbelly, and the reason for the metal underbelly is for inspection purposes. So it's metal, added maybe 10 pounds to the airplane, but it's for the panels to be able to take it off and access it, and get underneath and see all the, all the underneath the floorboards. So you can get under there and do inspections. So that has been put in there. A lot of thought has been put into this airplane, apparently, by way of getting the servicing done properly. Yeah, even everything seems good. It looks like maybe the same tail wheel. But we took a close look, and the work has been done by reputable places. There's that. There you go. There's the inside of that. Inside, we're gonna go inside here in a second. There's those controls. So we figured lots of good things about this plane. Rob's given a real good once over of
Shopping, looking around.
yeah.
I don't want to nitpick it to death, but it's seasonal.
And the carburetor, what do you say about the carb? There was some good things about.
It was a new carb, and then after the thing got twisted up, and they took the new carb and they put it on this engine.
Right.
Just
And
like a little moisture rate that the crankcase seam along here, but
okay,
it's not pouring down or anything like that.
no, and he said it, burns to just what you'd expect for oil. And I think the other thing that he thought is when he looked at the logbook, the previous owner never flew it much. He got things done, and the worst thing you can do for an airplane is not fly it a lot. So I think he said, 1 year he only put in fact, last year it only had 17 hours on it, and 10 of those would have been Rick bringing it back from Kamloops. So, there we are. We're going to give this airplane a close consideration here. Golf Echo Sierra Kilo. Oh, baby. Oh, baby. So, there we go here. And there's your little heel brakes. There's your rudder pedals, heel brakes. This thing is fairly basic. Forest. And yeah. So there's your controls here. Here's the stick for the guy in the back. There's not much to this bad boy because there you go. And fuel gauge there. Little light. Here we are here. Little rear view mirror. Look at that. But again, here's the cluster. This looks like a little iPad sitting here. A little mini iPad. And emergency door release, I don't know. I guess these are the pedals, yeah. Rudder pedals and brakes for the guy sitting back here, namely Rick. And wild. I'm gonna go check out the wooden spar here.
Forward there.
Look,
Right up there.
look forward there. Okay, I'm just gonna look. Hang on, I may have to stick myself right in there. I'm just looking.
Come back from this side, you can look right up there.
Okay, I'm gonna have to reposition my camera here. Yeah, there's the wooden spar.
See up through
And-
here too.
Okay.
Is it right here?
Now this little crack here, that's okay. This little crack there.
Well, it's not pressurized or anything, that's for sure.
Yeah, okay. And is that the spar I'm looking at? This thing?
So. Yeah.
That's the spar, the front spar.
He's holding me here.
Okay.
Hello?
All right, again, this
Hello?
wooden spar. Right. Well, that's one part there. I don't know if we have to look at it on the other side too. Hey, Forrest. Here she be. She's a wooden fabric airplane. Oh. Yeah, so just wondering if there's anything else. We'll look at the other. I see how that comes off. That's all those are, eh? Just peek up there, see if there's anything to see. There's the bottom of the spar. That's the wooden thing right there.
Yeah, and that's looking up through from this angle here. I'll get a different light going here.
I'm just gonna shine. You shine your light up there again for me to look at this.
Let's look at this bracket here.
Yeah?
It's nailed to the spar. We see 1, 2, 3 nails. They're out a little bit, but
So this is like the second access hole that we looked at the spar on the left
third
wing.
one now, I think. Yeah, I've had this one off too. So third, fourth, over 4 pounds. I've taken 1, 2, 3, 4. Looking at a couple of the other ones, just peeking around.
And that's all that panel is. It just sticks on there and
Yeah. There's the page job all matches
that's all
up.
that is, eh?
Page job all matches up. This one. He said these usually when the spars crack, it was outboard of the wing strut.
If it's cracked outboard of that, okay. And there's another look at the spar. A wooden spar. There you go. Hey, Forrest. Throttle. Rob's moving things there. You're gonna fly this, Forrest? Oh my God.
Look at this over here. It's not a bad thing. I'm just saying, like, see the markings on that piece of wood there too, all zigzag back and forth.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it looks similar to what we saw in
I'm just gonna move the
that
light
other
a
spot.
bit, just a sec, just to the markings on there. Yeah. Yeah. What do we think those markings are?
Well, it looks like where something's been epoxied together or something like that, but I didn't see any marking like that on the front side, just like the other one we looked
Yeah.
at. You didn't see marks.
And this little tray thing, it does what? It helps to just.
Just a tab.
It's just a
balance
tab, balancing tab for. Okay. Okay, we've really been looking at the spar, and had a good look at it on in both wings here. Thanks to Rob. So far it looks good, eh?
Yeah. Nothing jumping out at me. Oh, I see. Okay, that's in here. There's that fuel line. That's what this paper towel is sitting here for, yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay, so it's got the turn indicator
Okay.
right there, and you said a G-force gauge
G units.
or G units? Well, it's for aerobatic, right? So everything looks good. You're just checking it out.
Yeah, just shopping.
Yeah.
ELT.
Glass cockpit, which is the
Glass cockpit.
which is
Yeah.
the iPad, yeah.
Right.
Fuel on, fuel off. There's a fuel switch down there.
The Maxes wish they had a glass cockpit like
Yeah,
this.
right? Oh, yeah, nicely done. All right. Yeah. Nice and smooth, eh?